Hi everyone, welcome to Customer Success with Chai. In this show, we go through different CS leaders' post content and see how we can use that in our own life practically. I am Rahul Choudhary. I run SuccessGuardian, which is a customer success software company. So for today, these are the three CS leaders we have chosen to talk about. First one we have is Kara. So she's talking about QBRs and what can you do better in your QBRs rather than just being a slideshow. And she talks like she mentions 6 points about like how it should be focused more on value, how it should be a two-way conversation, how it should be about outcomes and not just updates, how you can personalize it and make it their own story rather than just it shouldn't feel like a template, and how you should end it with an action. Now you can go through 6 points here which she has mentioned in her post in a deeper way by reading about it. What we can learn from here is like our QBR should not be just a presentation or shouldn't be just like, okay, it's been 3 months, let's connect. That shouldn't be the point of QBR. Rather, the point of QBR should be like, okay, this is the business outcomes we have achieved. And let's see if we are still on the right path, if these outcomes are still your priority, and if they are satisfied with what you have achieved. And if the answer to any of the question differs from what you have, then you should be looking into like, okay, what's like, what are the new outcomes, where we might have missed, and what could be the plan to rectify those things. Now, another post is by me also on the same topic of about QBR. And I've also talked about the similar thing about QBR not being just a presentation or just a, 48 slide deck, but rather it can be about 5 pages or 6 pages, but it should be about, first of all, them. It should be about the success metrics they care about. And it should be more about insights. Okay, this is how the metrics is going. This is what we have achieved. Like, what do we learn from it? What were the theories or hypotheses that we thought were true? And what were the things which we were thought were true, but turns out they weren't? So that should be the main content and not like, this is the adoption metrics or this many emails we made or that sort of thing, which I've seen happen in generally in early stage CSMs or companies where they haven't defined this thing properly. Now, the next post is from Daphne. Now, this post is about discovery. This is not necessarily about QBR, it can be everywhere. But if it towards the end of the QBR, you feel that the outcomes have changed, the priorities have shifted, then this becomes a really, really important skill, discovery. Now she has talked about like how you can go about doing discovery with your customers, how should be engaging with the right stakeholders and deeply understanding what they care about, not just okay, this is what the adoption thing or this is what we have achieved, but also about like what the future holds for them. Now she has mentioned some really great questions about asking how these goals are important, not just okay, what goals is your team trying to achieve, like that's an okay question, but she has mentioned that why these goals are important is much important and a deeper question. And when you have these questions in your arsenal, like okay, how does the priority or the feature request they are making, how does it tie to the outcomes they have mentioned that are important? Is it to some outcome that hasn't been mentioned yet? Like if they have, like if you have missed something, a priority or outcome, how can you log it so that you can track that also? If you have been already tracking the outcomes, priority, has the priority shifted, like the order or the magnitude or the impact of those priorities? So these sort of questions make sure that you have a like a better sense of and customer understanding when you're doing QBR or even in general check-ins. And if the customer has deviated from the initial path, you can either bring them on the path again, or if now the new things, the new dynamics are different, the new priorities are different, then how can you make a plan so that the new plans are what you are focusing on, not just the old outcomes, but how can your product or the service you are offering can be used in this new outcomes or new priorities? Now, if you don't focus on these things, like if you ignore, if you just have about adoption or like these are the matrices that matter to you, if you are showing only them, what ends up happening is like first, if you are doing a QBR and showing only the metrics that matters to you in those QBR, what will end up happening is that one, they won't be attending your next QBRs, and second, they will churn and you will never know about it. Like you will be like, okay, everything was green. Why did they churn? Well, because you didn't know that the priority shifted. So that's it for this week. The only thing you have to understand is like one, focus more on outcomes, and second is like do a great discovery every time you're meeting with your customer. Make sure that you reiterate that okay, these are the points that that they care about, and yes, they still care about. If they're not, then what has changed? If even if the priorities are same, are they satisfied with the pace that you are going through? And if you can loop in other people who are, who can help you get deeper into this, whether it's your power users, your champions, or CCO level people from the customers, then that is better. That's it for this week. We'll come back next week with three different posts and understanding a different concept and how we can use it in our life, in our CSM process to make it better. Goodbye.